Hi everybody, Thomas at Variable Income here. Consumer debt is a common element in most households today, and many people consider it just a regular part of daily life. A recent study reveals some startling numbers about the levels of debt that many of us have taken on. Now, to be clear, not all consumer debt is bad. Mortgage loans, for example, make home ownership possible, and the truth is that few Americans have the cash available to buy a vehicle outright. While debt has its place, the real problem is the total amount of debt that Americans tend to carry. Including mortgages, the average total household debt is a little below $289,000 as of the beginning of 2024. The majority of that debt is tied to a home mortgage, but the remaining $44,000 plus is generally tied to debt at higher rates. And as you can see in this example of national averages from surveys taken at the start of 2024, more than $20,000 of average household debt is tied up in unsecured loans, including credit card debt and personal loans. These types of loans are always associated with higher interest rates that make paying them off over time more difficult for the average American. Now, let's look at this average debt picture against the backdrop of the average income for a working married American filing jointly with 2 kids. The average salary in the U.S. is a little under $64,000 per year, which, after taxes and other typical deductions like health insurance, works out to a monthly take-home income of a little more than $3,800 per month. Assuming debt payments are equal to the national average, that leaves a little less than $1,500 a month to keep the family fed and clothed, and to say nothing of non-debt payments like water, electricity, internet, and other things. Now, here's another scary picture for you. With an average of about $2,350 per month going to debt, the average American is spending more than 61% of their income to do little more than service the debt. This is true because higher interest rates on credit cards and personal loans apply the vast majority of a monthly payment only to interest, with just a small fraction being applied to principal. Is it a wonder so many Americans feel like they're drowning in debt? In today's episode, I want to talk about the smartest way that I've ever seen to break the vicious cycle of high, overly burdensome debt. You may have heard about sexy-sounding debt elimination strategies like velocity banking. I'll tell you right now, what I'm going to show you is not that. Velocity banking generally encourages consolidating debt payments into personal loans, which is really nothing more than redistributing your debt and its payments into a smaller number of loans. The strategy I prefer doesn't involve taking on any new debt. In fact, it doesn't play the credit game at all. It's a simple method of prioritizing your debt and emphasizing the smallest amounts first. It's a method that I've seen other financial experts refer to as the snowball method, which I think is a pretty good description. We're going to start small and see how your ability to eliminate debt can accelerate or grow like a snowball over time. In a previous video, I talked about using side hustles to generate extra income when you feel too strapped by current obligations to make ends meet. In the example I'm going to show you, I'm going to assume that I'm using a side hustle to generate an extra $300 per month with the specific purpose of paying off debt. Now, in my example, I have 2 credit cards with varying balances, 2 car loans, and a mortgage. My minimum payments are shown on the far right. My total monthly payments are $3,720, an amount that is far above the national average and just under the average income level. If my income is equal to the national average, I'd need a side hustle just to feed my family. For the sake of the example, we'll assume that my income is high enough to make these minimum payments and meet my family's basic needs, but not much more. My $300 a month side hustle is what I'll be using to pay off these debts. The first thing you have to do is prioritize the debts that you have. I've seen people modify this step by prioritizing the debts that have the highest interest rate first. I'm going to keep it simple because in my experience, being able to see tangible success in eliminating debt sooner is a motivating factor that makes it easier to stay the course and keep following your debt payoff plan. That's why I've listed my debts from top to bottom, starting with the smallest balance first. We're going to stay with the simple concept. Adding $300 to the $50 minimum payment for my department store credit card means that the entire $300 can be applied to principal while the $50 minimum continues to service debt. After 4 months, my $1,200 balance is paid off, giving me the satisfaction of seeing this debt eliminated from my budget. This is where it can be tempting to fall back into the same trap later. If I'm at the store with my wife and we see something that we both like, we might justify the purchase by saying, "Hey, we've got all of our store credit. Why not?" That's a big mistake. The point is to move to step 3, not to replace the debt you just paid off with new debt. The next step is to take the $350 I used to pay off the department store account and apply it to my Apple Card. During the 4 months I spent paying off the department store account, I only made the minimum payments on this card, which means all I was really doing was paying interest on the card. Starting in May, though, I can add $350 to my $50 minimum payment and pay the entire amount on this card off by August. Once that's done, I can take the $400 I used to pay the Apple Card each month and apply it to my smallest auto loan. Now let's expand the picture to see the snowball effect over time. Taking the sum of the payments made to satisfy the 2 credit card debts and adding it to the $500 payment for car loan number 1 means that loan is paid off in just 13 months versus the years that would remain if I only continued to make the minimum payment possible. That then allows me to increase my $620 payment on car loan number 2 to $1,520 a month, with payoff on that loan expected in just a little more than 3 years total versus the 6 to 7 years that the loan was originally scheduled for. Now, I want to talk a little about mortgage payments. Experts generally seem to be divided on whether to keep applying the snowball effect to your mortgage. Some argue the tax advantages of being able to deduct mortgage interest from your yearly income. Others talk about being able to start increasing your savings once your only remaining debt is your mortgage. I land somewhere in the middle. I think it makes sense to increase your mortgage payments above their minimum level for the same reason as every other debt you've paid to this point. Your extra payments are applied to principal, not interest, which lowers your mortgage balance faster and increases your equity in your home, even if home prices are stagnant. I also like the idea of being able to start increasing your savings, especially by directing those savings into qualified retirement accounts like a Roth IRA or a simple IRA. You may consider dividing your snowball in half, with the first half being added to your mortgage payment and the second half going into savings and qualified retirement accounts. That way, you still pay your mortgage faster and you start putting money towards your future. If you like this video, go ahead and give it a like. Help me grow my channel by hitting the subscribe button along with the bell so you get notified every time I upload new content. If you want exclusive early access to my videos and you'd like to leverage the power of my Rebel Income investing system with information you can use every day to turbocharge your savings, sign up for a free 7-day trial on my Patreon page. That link is in the description area of this video. Thanks for your time, everybody. This is Thomas. I'll talk to you again soon.